Hello and welcome to Chapter 9, Interactions of Living Things. We are going to be going through this chapter right after Chapter 8, where we talked about plants, interactions of living things. And we are going to be spending today going through what is an ecosystem and abiotic factors. So we are going to be going through Section 1 on page 308 in your textbook, called Ecosystems and Biomes. So open up to page 308. Before we get involved with the actual content, I thought I would teach you, I thought I would do an agree or disagree statement. So I have two statements, and you need to tell me if you agree or if you disagree. Statement number 1 says, an ecosystem contains both living and non-living things. Do you agree or disagree? I agree. Living things such as plants and animals live among non-living things such as water, atmosphere, and soil. The next statement says all changes in an ecosystem occur over a long period of time. Agree or disagree? I disagree as well. Some changes, such as a volcano erupting, a flood, or a wildfire, can occur pretty quickly and cause a lot of change to an ecosystem. All right, we're going to be going through this section, the first part of it today, talking about ecosystems. You've probably heard that word before. You've probably learned about that word as well. I know we learn about ecosystems in lower grades as well. What are ecosystems? Ecosystems are the living and non-living things in one place. Now we have a specific name that we call living things, and that's organisms. Even plants, even bacteria, all of them are considered organisms. And organisms have those characteristics of being alive. And we mentioned the 6 of them at the very beginning of this school year, like cell structure, homeostasis, they use energy, they reproduce, all of these things that are characteristics of living things. And so we have organisms and non-living things in one place, having that be an ecosystem. Within that, we have ecology as well, which is the study of how organisms interact with each other and their environments. So all about how they relate to one another. Let's look at this lovely picture. We have 2 deer interacting with their environment. It looks like they are aware of the person taking their picture, but maybe they wandered into this forest to get some food. Now, they have a diet of just look at the green all around them, plenty to eat. But there's also different ways that they can interact within this ecosystem. We don't see it, but there could be a fresh water source nearby that the deers could use. We also don't see it, but there's air around them that the deer are breathing. There's soil that they're walking on as well. And it's not too cold. It's not too hot. So there's a lot of things that they're interacting with in this picture. They're interacting with the food that they're going to eat. They're interacting potentially with each other. A lot of different things that make up this ecosystem, non-living and living things. Now we have a special name for non-living components of the ecosystem. We call them abiotic factors. Bio, if you remember, means life. Bio means not life. A can mean not or against. So not life factors. What is not living in an ecosystem? Water isn't living. Doesn't have cells that make it up. It's made up of atoms. Atmosphere is not living as well. It's not made of cells. Temperature, not living. Soil has living things in it, but itself is not living. And I would include also rocks and minerals in this soil category. They're not living, but I would include them. They're not living, so they belong in the abiotic factors. Sunlight is an abiotic factor. The sun is not alive. It's not made of cells, it's made of atoms. And the wind is also an abiotic factor, or a not living factor. But it is still a high part of an ecosystem, still an important part of the ecosystem. And the types and amounts of those abiotic factors available in an ecosystem help determine which organisms will actually live there. So we're going to break down some of these different abiotic factors and talk about what we could use them for, or an example of how they impact an ecosystem. So water. There are some ecosystems on this page that have a lot of water. The amount is important. The top picture of that forest, water is why it's that green. A lack of water would turn into what the desert ecosystem would be. Fish require a lot of water in their ecosystem. I know that's pretty straightforward, but it's true. Fish need a lot of water. That and coral in that picture as well. Type of water. There's fresh water and there's salt water. Maybe there's even groundwater. So not all fish, even though they rely on a lot of water, can be in salt water. Some fish are freshwater fish. Some of them are saltwater fish. They can't be in fresh water. So different amounts of water and different types can impact what organisms live in your ecosystem and what are able to survive there. I can't just put a fish in a desert. It doesn't have enough water. That abiotic factor is limited and it's not able to survive in that ecosystem. When we look at light and temperature, typically, but not always, the higher the temperature, the more light. And so I have a picture of a nice tropical island, and then I have a picture of Alaska. Both are very beautiful. However, they have different temperatures. Alaska is somewhat colder. This tropical island, very hot. Now, this tropical island is probably located towards the equator, so it gets more direct sunlight, causing the temperature to increase. Alaska is located closer to a pole, which means it doesn't get as much direct sunlight, causing it to have cold temperatures. But both of these, light and temperature, influence what lives there. For example, palm trees do not belong in Alaska. Palm trees belong in tropical climates. I still remember to this day, we had a minor league baseball team in my hometown of Peoria, Illinois. And every time the season started, they brought palm trees in from Florida. And it was like a sad thing because the palm tree was going to its death, because we would have palm trees outside of our ballpark in the summer, and then when winter came, they would die. Because it wasn't their ecosystem. They didn't belong there. They've stopped doing it since, which is good because it seems like a waste of money. Another abiotic factor is air or atmosphere. Different amounts of water vapor or humidity can impact the organisms that live in an ecosystem. We require nitrogen, that's the main gas that's in our atmosphere, oxygen, and carbon dioxide as well. Think about the needs that plants need and the needs that we need. Ugh, I lost my mouse. There it is. Finally, soil. I would also include rocks in this category because rocks break down to form soil. But soil, depending on where you're at, can have different textures and amounts of nutrients. If you look at this one doesn't look that fertile or able to have nutrients or grow a lot of things. This one looks a lot more broken down and should be able to grow. Some soil have different depths, so the soil goes down deep. Others hold different amounts of moisture as well. But the organisms that live in soil are depending on the type of soil in that ecosystem. And that's where I'm going to leave it today, except for one more thing. I know that Not all of you, well, no. If you're watching this video, that's great. However, some people have been just pressing turn in and not watching these videos. I guess that's on you, but I wanted to take an opportunity because I know you wanted a Bulwark Dutch class and we won't be meeting together to also teach you some Dutch phrases that will be on your homework. And so if you watch these videos, you can get free points by writing these down. So the first Dutch phrase I wanted to teach you was Hallo, which, what do you think that means? Yeah, it means hello, except in Dutch, you swap out the E for an A and you get Hallo. So the Dutch phrase for Monday, April 27th, is Hallo. See if you can use it while talking to people. All right. I am going to leave you for today. I will talk to you tomorrow. Tomorrow we are going to go into biotic factors of an ecosystem. Have a great day, and I will talk to you later.